Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole flock of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. The Most High, the Heavenly Father, his Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah, not Abba, not Yahuwah, not Hashem, not Yahweh, Haveh, Vaveh. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua, not Yahusha, not Jesus. It's Yahweh Shah. So got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rikah Quadash. Dub honors to the apostles, elder bishops, and elders of great millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And the sincere salutation to all the occupant, pushing this truth and believing this truth with the four ends of the earth, the entire world, sharing light to the whole elect. Shalom to the all who are listening, learning. You sisters who are listening, learning. I'm Isaiah from Jim Messalano count. Prophet of Doom coming into another lesson in true facts, faith, and edification. Another day of edification, Lord, wisdom, edifying. So I titled this lesson, The So-Called White Man's History Claims Everybody But Edom in the Bible. And I was trying to do this lesson on YouTube, but this video, for whatever reason, I'm just going to play it from the phone, get a couple precepts. Lord, wisdom, edifying. Because this is these Edomites going back and forth with each other, which is division. But this Edomite, this Shedemite, Edomite, is trying to make the point how civilization started, which they always say the civilization started with the Greeks. Basically started with the Edomites, right? So I'm gonna play this clip. I was trying to play it, but you know how them devils do. So I'm gonna play it from the phone. So listen to this. Let's run this back. So check this out, right? Because the Edomite talk about, just listen, Salakia.
To it. We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true.
She said, we now have a generation that believe everything that we did by colonizing, which is true. And this is why they taking down these statues of Robert E. Lee and Theodore Roosevelt. And now they saying that slavery is a critical race theory. As Elder Malcolm always says, critical race historical facts. One more time. Because this is what they did, man. Now it ain't working. But if a person don't know nothing about history, 2-3 generations down the road, it'll be gone. And the apostles always say, hey, years from now, Michael Jordan will be an Edomite, man. Because of the so-called white man can cover up all the past. Just like the scripture tell you in Jeremiah 51:19 that Jacob is the form of all things. The so-called white man didn't create anything, man. He just patented it. He stole it and put a patent on it. He didn't create nothing, man. Listen to this.
We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true.
Because they control the curriculum.
Everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things, and there were some good things to come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
The Edomite said, what? Because she said some terrible things that came out of it and some good things. The other Edomite to do, he said, like what? What was good that came out of colonizing? Nothing good came out of that. But it was all prophecy. Listen.
Education. Yes, completely. Sanitation. Transport. There was so much that we brought to communities. But that is...
They said education, right? It tell you in Wisdom of Solomon 2, they said that their education, let me get it real quick. This is Wisdom of Solomon. I want to play the video so you can see it, man. Wisdom of Solomon 2. That these devils. I see. I'm gonna have to probably. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get do this subscription, the little monthly subscription. I know that's what StreamYard doing, man. For whatever reason, YouTube acting funny. I don't know. This is Wisdom of Solomon 2 in verse. I'm gonna read 11. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. And they know this, and he is clean contrary to our doings. And they know that. Haman was talking about that. When you go back to Mordecai and this guy Haman, he was trying to get the king to set up a decree, because he said, man, these Jews in your land, they got their own laws. Therefore, let us lie and wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraided us with our offending the law, and they have. Isaiah 24:5, it reads, they transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. And objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education. So here is this Edomite boasting in them colonizing. Let's run it back, and I'm gonna let it ride. Let's run this back. Bear with me. This is Lucky here. Trying to get this right on this phone. All right. All right. Check this out.
We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things, and there were some good things to come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
Education.
Yes, completely.
Sanitation.
Transportation.
There was so much that we brought to communities. But that is... But you see,
I'm not typical of what we're talking about.
No, I'm saying that colonization, the empire was wrong. It was wrong, full stop. That's, the things that Britain might have done.
But that's very much through your modern sensibilities, you might say that, because we wouldn't now routinely go into other countries.
It was a profoundly racist set of basically invasions of other people, where we subjugated people to our rule and sort of made them work for us. It was
put yourself in
their country's work.
Could you imagine yourself in the shoes of a 13-year-old boy hearing you say that?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What do they then? How do they then carry that through life?
Well,
in terms of who I am as a Brit.
But it's not about
racist ancestors. Say it,
but
I'm saying that we hear much more of that than we do about the benefits of that period of time.
Well, because I don't think there were benefits. I think that we have to be completely...
Of course there were benefits to us.
I don't think there were.
There were benefits to us.
Those countries did not, Jonathan, those countries, it absolutely does. Those countries did not have money. They did not have the creativity. They did not have people in positions of power to do this. No, they didn't.
Countries, they just didn't live like Britain did. It doesn't make it worse. It just makes it different.
So it's okay to live without education, and it's okay to live without a transportation system, is it?
They did have education. It just wasn't our education system. They had language. It wasn't our language.
It's cultural
medicine we brought to
precisely what we have.
Yes.
I don't know why we're even...
Europeans have always smelled. Let's stop using polite words like odor. This wasn't a whiff. This wasn't a bad day. This was centuries of stewing stench, trapped in wool, leather, linen, and flesh. It was historical, systemic, biological, stench policy, a full body, all angles, top to bottom, olfactory assault. Their breath reeked of rotting meat and mouth fungus because they didn't brush, just chewed cloves or rubbed ashes on their blackened teeth. Their feet, marinated in damp boots, with no socks, no airing, no soap, just foot rot, raw heel flesh, and toe jam so thick it had texture. Their groins, enclosed in 4 layers of wool and linen, piss-stained drawers, no bathing, and a cultural fear of touching their own genitals, yeast, sweat, discharge, and fear, all mingling in a mildewed, sexually confused stew. Their beds were soaked in old urine. Their wigs were laced with lice, dandruff, and dried scalp pus. Their royal garments passed down, still stained, with sour crotch melt and unwashed armpit grease. They didn't change clothes. They Febrezed with flower water and prayed. They didn't wash hands. They wiped on curtains. They didn't wash hair. They powdered over rot and wore it like status, and you could smell it coming. Diplomatic records say indigenous envoys smelled European ships before they saw the sails. Maori leaders recoiled from dead water scent of settler bodies. In the Congo, elders noted that the missionaries brought the smell of old meat. In India, servants had perfumed cloths to their faces. Everywhere they landed, they brought an odor that could peel bark off of trees. But here's the real kicker. They called other people unclean. They walked into bathed, perfumed, scented, flower-oiled civilizations and gagged the air, and then tried to rewrite the story like they were the teachers of cleanliness. The Yoruba had soap made from shea and ash centuries before Europe had running water. The Aztecs used herbs, clays, and sweat lodges. The Khmer bathed twice a day in flower-infused river water. But the Europeans came with crotch fumes, beard rot, and medieval fear, and still claimed moral high ground. Let's be clear, Europe didn't just smell. It festered. The stench bubbled. It wasn't on the surface. It was in the walls of the castles, the folds of linen, the seams of history. They colonized the world while leaking mildew from every pore. Every handshake was damp. Every breath was sour. Every empire was built on body odor. And when the stench got too thick to bear, what did they do? They didn't wash. They perfumed. They didn't clean the rot. They masked it. Europeans have always smelled. They exported genocide, greed, disease, and they did it reeking. Gope. Europeans have always had fungus. We need to stop being polite about this, because the truth isn't just that Europeans were dirty. They were festering, flaking, dripping, peeling in patches. They weren't building empires. They were fermenting in their own boots. You want the truth? Europe was a walking yeast infection. Toenails blackened and curling like horn. Socks fused to skin. Moisture trapped in woolen folds. Cracks between toes stuffed with yellow-white decay. Scalps flaking like ash in winter. Taint rot. Ball mildew. Under-boob moss. And they normalized it. They designed around it. Tight corsets with no ventilation. Trousers soaked in sweat with no washing. For months, priests with mold in their robes. Kings with fungus under their crowns. Even their holy relics were moldy. Literally, we have museum records of fungi growing on preserved saint corpses. Meanwhile, in Mali, Healers used shea, crushed kola nut, and antifungal earths from the Niger floodplain. In the Philippines, vinegar baths with guava leaf kept folds dry and infection-free. In indigenous Amazonian communities, they brewed powerful antifungal tonics from bark that science still can't replicate. But the Europeans showed up oozing, flaking, and itching, and called them unclean. Let's talk about their food. Ergot fungus in their bread led to seizures, hallucinations, and vomiting black foam. Whole villages convulsing and clawing at their skin. And what did they blame? Witches, not the spoiled grain, not the damp cellar. Women. Let's talk about the colonies. They stepped off mold-infested ships into tropical climates and immediately began to rot. Jock itch spreading in military camps, mouth thrush in missionary schools, infected armpits in plantation barracks, and they exported every spore. Fungus in their maps, fungus in their beds, fungus in their theology, a rotting body and a rotting soul. Europeans didn't just have fungus. They built a civilization that required it. Without rot, they'd have nothing left to cling to. Without mold, they'd have no bread. Without flake, no powder. Without sweat, no stink. Europe has always been leaking, and it still is. Go. Europeans have always stolen Africans. They didn't just steal bodies. They stole Africans, and they did it repeatedly, systemically, and with precision. Not like thieves, but like harvesters, like predators, like parasites that built every modern European institution off the extraction of African life. Not just labor, not just land, but identity, cosmology, memory, time. Europe's theft of Africans didn't begin with the transatlantic slave trade. It began before it. In 1441, Portuguese sailors abducted Africans from the coast of modern-day Mauritania, not through war, not through conquest, through trickery. They baited, kidnapped, and enslaved innocent people, justifying it with papal documents that declared black skin a mark of servitude. These weren't isolated incidents. They were state-funded dry runs, pilot programs for mass theft. Before the Americas, Portugal tested mass African enslavement on African soil, setting the template for Brazil, the Caribbean, and the American South. Every plantation in the Western Hemisphere is a clone of this theft experiment. And who was stolen? Not criminals, not prisoners. Farmers, artisans, priests, mothers, griots, engineers, stolen and renamed property. 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic, but that's only those who survived. Another 20 to 25 million were killed in the process. Raids, forced marches, coastal stockades, and ship rebellions. So no, the slave trade didn't just steal labor, it stole generations. It broke ancestral lineages that had existed thousands of years. Entire ethnic groups were depopulated, fractured, disappeared. Europeans stole African people, but also African knowledge. West African metallurgy, irrigation, crop rotation, architecture were looted and repackaged with European names. African herbal systems became European apothecaries. African architecture became classical revival. African resistance strategies became case studies in colonial military academies. They didn't just steal Africans. They stole what Africans knew. and then buried the source. After physically stealing Africans, Europe built science to steal them symbolically. Craniology, phrenology, blood quantum, all designed to dehumanize blackness, so the theft never had to be morally reconciled.
And the scriptures prove that the so-called white man stole so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Let's get this. This is Exodus 21-16. And it reads, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. When you go to Joel 3, for these people that talk, that say, and Deuteronomy 28, when it reads, you shall be sold to your enemy for bondmen and bondwomen, but no man shall buy you. They don't understand what the word buy mean in that chapter, in that the word buy mean to be redeemed. So here, so they say, oh no, this is you see it say, no man shall buy you. Then you take they slow ass right over here to Joel 3, as it reads, Joel 3 in verse 1, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right? What land is parted? Israel. Right? You got the small hats. You got those Palestinians in the land. And the Lord said in Amos 7:17, your land shall be divided by line. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Right? Yeah. And what will you do to me, O Tyre and Zidon? So he's talking about the Africans. They stole the Africans and took all their education. No, they took Israelites. You can read that in Daniel's 1. It reads, yeah, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Who is the Lord talking to here? He's talking to Zidon. Tyre is the place. Zidon is the son of Canaan. Okay? Tyre is the son of Canaan. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Who are the Grecians? The so-called white man. That ye might remove them far from their border. See? And they tell you, let me get it here. To show you, don't tell no damn Africans, the education that the so-called white man used. This is Daniel. And we know the scripts, man. We know what the scriptures say. Daniel's 1. Jeremiah 51:19 say Jacob is the form of all things, not Ham. Daniel's 1. Let's read this. It reads, Daniel's 1:1. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, which part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Aspenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, who children in whom was no blemish, Daniel 1:4, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. See, this is Daniel and the three holy children and other of the king's seed, man. That was what it said. They was children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and to whom they might teach the learning of the tongue and the tongue of the Chaldeans. There ain't no Hamites, man. It was Israelites. Jeremiah. These devils be lying, man. But then you got the Edomites. This is the Edomite bringing all this out, man. 119. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. And Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. See? So, I want to get this Job 30:1. We dealing with the basis of men, man. Job 30:1. Now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I will have disdain to have set with the dogs of my flocks, with the dogs of my flock. So Job said he wouldn't even sit the Edomites, the so-called white man, around his dog. Yet were too much the strength of their hand profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing in the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste, into Europe, who cut up mallows by the bushes, and juniper roots for their meat. See, tree barks, man. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, sounding like horses, donkeys, and mules. Among the bushes they brayed, on the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, base men. They were viler than the earth. This is a so-called white man here. Let's play some more of this.
And repurposed in my video about Jordan Peterson. The Enlightenment wasn't a light, it was a cover story. Locke and Hume wrote essays about liberty while investing in slave ships. Kant wrote moral philosophy while describing Africans as subhuman. Theft wrapped in theory. 1884, Berlin, not a single African in the room. 14 European nations sat down to legally divide the entire African continent, its resources, rivers, mountains, people. They drew borders with zero understanding of ethnic, linguistic, or political realities. Why? Because this was never about governance. It was about extraction. The same Africans they had stolen and dispersed, they now returned to colonize under a different theft model: forced labor, cultural erasure, and economic plunder.
They did that to Israelites, man. This happened to so-called Negroes, Jamaicans, and Haitians, and the Northern Kingdom. It was the Northern Kingdom that went into slavery first. This is why Northern Kingdom catching hell right now. But they did this to all 12 tribes of Israel. It wasn't no down. He didn't do this to no Hamites, man. The Ham over there getting it put to him now. But as far as going on slave ships, those was Negroes, Jamaicans, and Haitians, man, from out of the north and west part of Africa, man. We know this to be facts. And I just want to play some of this, play a little bit more.
Dressed up as civilization. Decolonization didn't end the theft, it rebranded it. France still collects colonial tax from 14 African nations, amounting to over 500 billion since 1960. The IMF and World Bank control African economic policy. European NGOs dictate agricultural strategies, while Europe dumps subsidized crops to destroy local economies. The continent remains structurally looted. They stole Africans, and they keep stealing from them.
This is Job chapter 9 and 24. It reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he? And then this is Psalms 49. It's Psalms 49 and 11. The inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever. The inward thought is that their house shall continue forever, and their dwelling place to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, man being in honor abideth not. He is like the beast that perisheth. And this is Micah 2. And this is what I tell you in Habakkuk 2, that these nations going to take up a taunting proverb against these Edomites, man. This is Habakkuk. This is Micah 2 and 2. It reads, Micah 2 and 1, woe to them that devise iniquity and were evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Therefore thus saith Yahweh, behold, against his family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks. Like I said in Habakkuk, the Lord going to discover them up to their necks. In Habakkuk 3 and 13, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day one shall take up a parable against you, and lament with the doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He have changed the portion of my people. We be utterly spoiled. He have changed the portion of my people. How have he removed it far from me? Turned away, he hath divided our fields. See, therefore, thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord. So it ain't going to be nothing that he could do to justify himself in the day of judgment, man. When the Lord said he's going to, what's that, Isaiah 10? When the Lord said he's going to visit them, man, for the thing that they have done. But yeah, I just want to play this first part, because this Edomite, hey, she talking big shit, man. Play this again.
All right, let's dive into it. We now have a generation that believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't.
It is wrong. So now she's saying we got a generation, it's a running bike. You got a generation that believe everything that first they believed it, but now everything they done is wrong. And this is facts. But it's all according to prophecy.
A generation that believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things, and there were some good things.
So now she says, so now we have a generation that believe everything that we did as colonizing was wrong. It was prophecy. It was all prophecy, man. But it was wicked. But in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, it was righteous. Because Esau had to fulfill prophecy, man. When the scriptures, when I was going into this today, and I meant to mention the wickedness that's in the earth, right? This devil used bio-warfare, right? Bio-warfare, chemical warfare, right? The Food and Drug Administration. He do all these things to try to kill off so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Psalm 64 say they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. But that was all part of the Lord's plan, man, for Esau to turn the earth upside down, to fulfill prophecy, man. It was all a part of prophecy being fulfilled. The filth of the earth The so-called white man is he's a counselor. As it tell you in Ecclesiasticus 10, that the physician coming to cut off a long disease. The so-called white man is the disease of the earth, man. But it was all prophecy. He searched out iniquities. The nigga been using chemicals, drugs, and food, which is all chemicals to kill off people, man. And now, because their plan isn't working according to their will, now they killing their own people, man, because they don't know who Israel is. Israel look like everybody now. So he's just killing off everybody because he don't know where Israel at, man. The Lord have mingled. What do you say? Jeremiah 12:9. His heritage is unto him as a speckled bird. So Esau got to kill everybody, man, because he don't know who Jake is. But his target is Jake. And everybody else is just collateral damage and casualties of war. But we're dealing with this what's this diabolical bastard, man. Anyway, she talking about, nah, these people believe everything that we did as colonizers is wrong. Critical race historical facts, man. The so-called white man kingdom is falling, and we are watching it fall. And this is the Lord said they should make their own tongue fall upon themselves. Let me play this again. Let me play this one more time, and I'm gone. Cause this is two Edomites going at it. It's a male Edomite and a female Shedemite, a female Edomite, going at it about what they did was wrong. She's saying it ain't. He's saying it is.
That believes everything we did by colonizing. Yes, it is true. They think everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things, and there were some good things to come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
Education.
Yes, completely.
Sanitation.
Transportation.
There was so much that we brought to communities. But that is... But you see,
This other Edomite woman told me so much we brought to
I'm
communities.
saying that colonization, the empire was wrong. It was wrong, full stop. That's, the things that Britain might
but
have done.
that's very much through your modern sensibilities, you might say that, because we wouldn't now routinely go into other countries.
She talking about through his modern sensibility. No, through history, through facts, through true education, man. See, this is the Edomites that paid off to continue to lie. But guess what? They losing. But they still gonna forward this lie until they sit in the dust, man. They want to forward this lie until they sit in the dust. This is the pride of Esau, man. That arrogant, lofty spirit they have, man. Anyway, Lord was edifying. Gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishop, and elders of great millstone, who well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. In the sincere salutation to all the occupant, pushing his truth, believing his truth, but full winds of the earth. The entire world shall light to the hopeful elect, shalom to the outwealth, well listen learning. If you successful listener, go off to an end. May Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, continue blessing your houses. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Let me read this. Isaiah 2:11. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of man shall be bowed down, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of Yahweh of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. This is an arrogant ass spirit on these Edomites, man. This Shedemite just says they brought civilization when they colonized everybody, man. But that's saying civilization started with the Greeks, with the Edomites, man. Damn devils. Anyway, shalom, wow, blah, blah, blah.